Hey there, I'm Jennifer with Resilient Life Therapy, here with a lot of great things to help your life go better. So today I want to talk with you about the number one mistake that I see people make when they really want to make a change in their life. So here it is. The biggest mistake that I see people make is thinking that they have to make one big giant step, one big leap, that I need to go from here to here. Get it all done, right? Make this big change, right? And that happens in a lot of different ways. But often, right, if you want to, let's say you want to start exercising, something simple, right? And so you go from no exercising to go like, I'm going to exercise an hour a day, every day, 7 days a week. I'm going to go from here to here, and I'm going to be in shape, and I'm going to increase the amount of weight I can lift by a ton in like 2 weeks, right? So it's this idea of like, I'm going to make this radical change, and I'm going to get it all done and do it all in one step, one giant leap. All right, guys, that is just not the way that change happens. So it is a setup for failure. Right? It is a setup for getting derailed pretty quickly. So look, I have actually recently started doing what I call interval running. I made up that name for lack of a better name. Essentially what it is I alternate and do intervals walking and running, right? So I'll walk for a while and then I'll run and then I'll walk and then I'll run. Now look, I'm not a good runner. I've never liked running, right? So listen, maybe I can do like 10 seconds, right, of running. I kind of started thinking, I should probably increase that, maybe a little bit more than like 10 seconds of running, right? But here are some things that I have learned that are really applicable to this whole idea. So I was actually one day with my husband doing this, right? And so he was just walking. So I was walking and I would run ahead and then I would run back and we would walk. And so anyway, so he says to me, hey, you know what? You're doing your arms like this in front of you when you're running. Like if you keep them at your side like this, it'll go a lot easier and more smoothly. You're exerting a lot more energy doing this. Well, I didn't like that. It's like, don't tell me how to run. And I actually tried it, to be fair, and I did not like the way it felt, right? It was very uncomfortable. It was not the way I had been doing it. I didn't like it. And I said, I don't like this. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to keep doing it the way I've been doing it, right? Because, that's what we do as therapists. We are so open to change. So what life actually looks like with a therapist. So anyway, but I revisited it and I actually tried again. And you know what? As I started to get used to it, I was like, darn it, he's right. Like this actually became easier. It actually became, I was expending less energy. And interestingly enough, when I'm like this is kind of a more closed off stance, right? This is a more open stance. So I think even within that, there is this metaphor that the more we can relax into being open, right? Instead of doing things the way we feel, in our comfort zone, actually things start to flow more easily. We feel more relaxed. We expend less energy. And so here's another thing that I have learned in doing my little intervals. Is the more I actually am able to relax, so just kind of take relaxed strides, open my arms up, have my upper body relaxed instead of going like this, I have found it is easier for me to run for more than 10 seconds. In fact, the more I relax with it, the further I can go, surprisingly. Another lesson I have learned is this isn't, again, about me suddenly being able to run for 30 minutes, right? This is about me doing a little bit at a time and expanding my window of tolerance for running. And that happens a little at a time. I have this one stretch, right, where it's like initially I'm like, I'm gonna run to those trees, right? And it was hard to get to those trees. Now listen, for most people who run, they would run that stretch and go, what are you talking about? This is not that far. But for me, it was far. And that's another thing that becomes really important is don't base your shifts and your movement and your change on what other people are doing or able to do. Base it on you, where you are, what you can expand. And expand your own self a little bit, right? So I finally got to where I was good with getting to the trees, and I was doing that consistently. So then the other day I decided to push it a little further. There's a little sidewalk I noticed just past that. So I'm like, I'm gonna get to the sidewalk. And again, I really tried to be mindful of this thing of like, the thing that I've realized is like, the more I can just stay relaxed with it, the further I can go and the easier it is. And so I got to the sidewalk. Now, I had to stop when I got to the sidewalk and I was tired and out of breath, but I got to the sidewalk, okay? So one more thing I have learned with this is, well, two more things. One is that when I start out, the first running interval I do is always hard. And my legs feel like lead and I'm really slow and I'm really clunky. But I do it anyway. And then the intervals after that, they get easier, right? And so anytime we're starting something, anytime we're trying to change, we're trying to do something new, we're trying to expand ourselves, it is always clunky and uncomfortable at first. And we just have to kind of get through that, right? And we do what we can. And then the next little bit that we do is going to get easier. And the next bit will get easier, and so on. Now, the one other thing that I have learned is that some days I have a lot more energy. And I'm able to go a lot further, and I feel like I'm flying when I'm running. I'm like feeling good, and I feel like I could probably run a marathon. I think I could. Until I try to get to the sidewalk, and then I'm like, probably not. All right. Other days, like I went this morning, I had my energy was awful. I didn't sleep well last night for whatever other reasons, who knows. Like my energy just wasn't there today. And so you know what? I did what I could. I kind of plodded along. I went slow. I didn't do as many intervals. They were shorter. I was probably back to the 10-second intervals. But whatever, right? I just said, look, today I'm not knocking it out of the park. I'm actually not even really taking a step forward today. I'm just kind of holding steady. I'm holding steady, right? And so that's the thing with change also, is it is never a straight shot up, right? I always tell people progress, change, whatever, it's never a straight shot up, right? It's always kind of like this. But we want to just make sure we're moving in generally in that direction, but it's going to be bumps and dips. So listen, this was a bit of a long way and a little bit convoluted of just saying that change is hard, change is uncomfortable. Change is never done in one big leap, right? We have to do small intervals, and we do what we can on any given day. And then we try to expand the window of our tolerance for change of the new thing we're doing. And that the more we relax into change instead of tensing up against it, the more we relax and we open ourselves up, the easier it flows. It feels a lot less tense and a lot less fraught. So look, I hope that this was helpful today. I thought about this metaphor when I was on my interval running this morning, and it felt like a really good idea. I felt like this is a very good metaphor. I'm going to use this. I hope it was helpful for you. If it was, two things, please share it, because if it helped you, it will help somebody else. And also, hit me up in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts on this. I would love to know if this was actually helpful or made sense at all or not. And make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, hit the bell I would love to have you be a part of my community. You can find out more about me in the description of this video down below. It has the link to my website. You can find out a lot more about me there at jennifer@resilientlifetherapy.com. All right, guys, relax into change, small pieces. Some days are clunky. All right, let me know what you think. Have a good day. Bye.